If you look at the Silicon Valley playbook, right, most of the ideas I see, they are not world firsts. They are commodity ideas that are packaged up as trying to have novelty. We spend a lot of time focused mainly on how do we create and invent a category that doesn't even exist. And why that's important is that gives us time because we're not competing with any direct competitors anywhere on earth, right? So I deliberately can only apply this particular approach if you've got 100% novelty. The advice I would give to others in this regard is like, if you can find a way to engineer true novelty, you don't need to actually take part in the normal conventional playbook at all.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Ways to Wealth. Today I am joined by Mikkel. Mikkel, why don't you give us the TLDR on who you are and what you're working on?
Yeah, totally. My name's Mikkel Johannessen. I'm the founder of a product innovation company in the mountain bike space called Foxfolk, as on my hat. My background is essentially 20 years as a brand designer. I'm working in as a creative director in design and advertising agencies in about 8 countries around the world before engaging on a completely new path, which was setting up Foxfolk during the start of COVID.
Oh, so one of those entrepreneurial fires that came out during the pandemic, like it did for many.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm just one of the many that pivoted, or either by necessity or by literally timing. In my case, it was probably more the timing was right, and I'd been waiting for an opportunity to do this for about 20 years. So the world coming to a grinding halt during COVID was really just a precipice for just diving in. Yeah.
Mm. So you said 20 years that you kind of something that had been building up or you were waiting for 20 years. Um, was that then to say that you always knew or you always knew you wanted to start your own thing, or you always knew you wanted to design something and give it to the world? What was the kind of
Yeah, yeah.
yearning, I
The
guess?
ye the yearning was essentially that before I even started in the workforce, before I even started school, as a child, I was already inventing, developing, and commercializing products without even really knowing it. It was just in me. And so, right from inception, where school teachers wanted me to apply myself in books and scholastic activity, I was busy making wetsuits for Smurfs and selling those during the lunch breaks every day. I think at probably the age of around 8 or 9, and therefore the character was kind of cemented right back then. So the background and design that became a sort of a path that enabled me to do what I'm doing now, but it certainly wasn't what my vision was when I was a child, or even as a growing up as a teenager or a young adult. I was very much, I think, looking for the link to enabling heading into this product innovation world. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, cool. Yeah, you talked about your career and the different projects you were able to be involved in, and what was the kind of rationale behind your career? Because you said you kind of didn't have the same. It wasn't quite what you expected,
Mm.
but you obviously were doing some interesting things and you got some great experience. So, did you kind of have a strategy with your career in terms of gaining the experience or exposing yourself to certain principles or design opportunities or brand opportunities?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think the genesis of this journey started very much with before I even went to design school in Wellington back in the day. Before I even left school, I was actually training to become a professional windsurfer, and I had sponsors, and I was heading down the route of being a professional athlete and moving to Hawaii, and that was the vision. And then sitting down with my slightly conservative, a safe pair of hands parents who are pragmatic career people and engineering and teach, and my mother's a school teacher. They quite quickly shunned at the idea that their son, especially back in that time of that generation, my generation, was going to have any future as becoming an extreme sports athlete. So the only two things really that I was really strong at in a sort of schooling level was sports, especially extreme sports, and creativity, art, design, and then inadvertently commercializing innovation in these little products that I'd make and create value and sell to other foolish children that would pay me their hard-earned pocket money. So the design school route, or the career that I ended up in, really was a byproduct of sort of my second choice in life, which was not extreme sports. And therefore I ended up in going into this service-based design world. Had a really, really great international career in it, did very well. Had really reached everything I wanted to achieve out of it, and yet that yearning to kind of fuse those two passions, extreme sports and design, really came to the fore when Foxfolk was born during COVID. So it was really just a stone that hadn't been unturned for like 20 odd years, and it was just way overdue, and it was just time to, like, now or never kind of moment for me. Yeah.
Okay. And, kind of you talked a bit about the timing then. So, you know, we get into COVID. What was, like, your life looking like, I guess, before you started making the plunge? And was there a strategy? How did you approach the kind of starting phases? Like, how did you make those incremental little pieces of progress
Yeah,
along the way?
it's a great question. It was quite a organic process. I think the starting point of this journey, probably in the context of living down in the South Island in Queenstown, where I reside. It started with actually a local company called Mons Royale, a merino clothing company, that reached out and headhunted me into a design director role, which brought me down to the region because they needed someone to live and operate out of Wanaka. Um, so that geographically was kind of the precipice for getting me down to this side of the country. And also back from abroad. I'd just been working on a merino clothing rebrand in Scandinavia and Norway for a year before that. So I
Right.
headhunted, got into this role, got me to the South Island. And then at the end of that kind of contract, when it was all complete and finished at Mons, that's where I had to do some real navel gazing. So this is kind of coming into 2018, around that time. And I was sort of a bit done with service-based consulting, and
Right.
I was really at the end of I just achieved everything I set out to do. I'd even had the opportunity to develop an idea, product idea actually, for Apple and Cupertino in the US, and had an opportunity to present that and try to sell it to Steve Jobs and Johnny Ives at the time, which was great, but it was still me operating, and an amazing experience in itself. But it was still me operating in a service-based context. It wasn't my own product innovation, my own baby, something that I was really passionate about. So after Mons, what actually happened was I took literally like about 2 years out. It was like a bit of a sabbatical where I really just removed myself from the whole design industry. I made myself unavailable for any work. Brand work kept flowing in and opportunities kept flying in, and I was asked to throw in all sorts of things on a plate. And deep down, my gut feel was just like, no, I'm done. It was a bit of a scorched earth kind of career chapter. I didn't really have a fixed sort of a strategy behind how I was going to get to the where I am now. To be honest, it was quite organic. And what ended up happening was I wanted to kind of take some time out. So I actually just worked up the local mountains for NZ Ski, a ski big employer here in Queenstown, one of the biggest employers, seasonal employers. And I ended up taking a bit of a ski bum job role as head of trail safety, working alongside Ski Patrol on Coronet Peak and the Remarkables, and did that for for 3 winters in total. And during that time, it just gave me some space after 20 years of really intense career focus on and working in multiple countries and multiple agencies. So I was really just like, this was just time out, sabbatical. So I took a 97% pay cut for the privilege of working up the mountain, thanks to NZ Ski, and loved my time up there. I was working in the outdoors. I was doing something I loved. I got paid basically to ski every day. I was doing 110 days of skiing a year. Incredible lifestyle kind of moment. But it paid no bills. So it was pretty much just like back to the drawing board. And that's where we came into kind of the start of COVID, before New Zealand had gone to lockdown, and we'd finished that winter season, had summer, and then we're coming into, I think it was about March 2020. And March 2020, we went into lockdown, and essentially day 2 of lockdown, I said to my partner, look, I think I know exactly what I want to do, something that's well overdue, and this is what I plan to create. And from there, it wasn't so much that I had a strategy behind what product to develop or to try to dive into. It was essentially very organic. We had a friend who had just bought a new $12,000 carbon mountain bike. He'd ridden it for about a week, dropped $12,000, a lot of money, of his own money, and he came off from home from one of the rides off Skyline one day, noticed that the rear triangle had cracked in the frame, took it back to the bike store and said, look, this has happened, what's going on? And the bike store took it back to the bike manufacturer, Specialized in the US, and the US reached out and said, unfortunately, what's happened to that frame is it's deemed as wear and tear. And it was basically a rock that had gone into the suspension linkage, nut cracked the carbon frame, and there was no warranty. So the solution for his problem was the bike shop offering him a replacement frame for $8,000 with 10% off after he's dropped 12,000 on a bike. So really, really, really shocking customer experience. And he said to me, Mikkel, you come from an ideas background, you come from an innovation background. If you can solve this and engineer this out, when you've got something like 180 million frames in circulation worldwide that can suffer from this particular problem, you could this could be an opportunity. And that's basically how it started. It wasn't really any sort of formal strategy. It was just at that time that was the problem to solve. Yeah.
So you knew you were gonna do something, and then that was the first idea, in essence.
Yeah, I think essentially, if I look back at kind of what I do really well, my biggest strength is I'm a creative problem solver. The fact that it was all that was applied to design and service-based design was sort of almost secondary. I think first and foremost, I just love problem solving in a number of areas. So this was just particularly a problem that was needed or could be solved in an industry that I absolutely love. So I thought,
Right.
well, you've got to be pretty passionate about what you are applying your time to, otherwise you will not succeed. And this was
Yeah.
very much just fusing the two things. There's a genuine problem to solve. It's resolving an unmet rider need. It's global, scalable, and there is no one else. It's a world first, a first to market opportunity. So on the back of that, it just happened to be that was the problem that presented itself at the time, and that became the path that I forged forward for trying to solve that via inventing basically a new product. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's it take to invent a new product once you come up with an idea?
There's a number of steps, and in no particular order. I think that the first aspect of interrogation is trying to validate an idea, and how to validate an idea can be very different for different ideas, different products, different industries. In my field, or in the mountain bike field, it was probably that one of the first aspects to consider was, is this actually a genuine problem that happens to other riders? If so, how common is it? And secondly, irrespective of how common it is, in this industry, the thing that became the hook for me was, well, if it does happen to any rider who's bought a new bike or even bought a used bike, the customer journey is a nightmare. It's essentially,
Right.
there's no real pragmatic solution. You can't, say for example, a cracked carbon frame. You can't take that frame to a certified carbon repairer, because the place in the bike that Achilles heel resides, and the linkage pivot is a critical load bearing part of the frame, which means a certified carbon repairer will essentially just not want to touch it. So you can't get it repaired, and therefore you've got an $8,000 frame, which is essentially becomes landfill during a time of climate crisis, and all of commercial reasons why we need to change trajectory in this area. So those became pretty big motivations for me, like to try to solve something that prevents warranty claims. Warranty claims is a nightmare for the stores, for the shop owners, and for the customer. So if I can create and invent a product that eliminates warranty claims for this particular problem, um, you're going to have a lot of happy people. You're going to have distributors that are happy. You're going to have shop owners and customer base worldwide that are very happy. And that's essentially why I decided that this really had legs, and it was time to try to validate this the best I could.
Yeah. And how did you go about, I guess, validating it? And then who was your first customer?
It's a really good question. So the trickiest thing about validation at that point was that we're in the middle of COVID. So you can't jump on a plane, you can't jump on a car, you can't actually go and meet with anyone in person. So to try to meet or join up or link up with others to share your concerns or these ideas, it really had to think right outside the square, because all we could do is stay at home or go to the supermarket and petrol station. That was it. So, it being a problem solver, I love lateral thinking, and I just started thinking, well, okay, I'm stuck in my house in Queenstown, a beautiful place to be stuck and locked down, by the way. But even so, it was really difficult trying to work out how to get validation on this, how to create the communication, with other prospects and customers. What I had a bit of a eureka moment one morning. I woke up and I realized that one of the beautiful things about Facebook, for example, is that Facebook groups are often very segmented, not just in the bike industry, but just full stop. So it's just a natural ecosystem that segments groups really well. Whether you own a car, a horse, a kitchen appliance, there's a group for everything under the sun. So I realized on the back of that probably most of the mountain bike groups would be naturally segmented like that, and that was exactly the case. So I joined about 30 different Facebook groups that morning, and they were all representing or owners of various mountain bike brands or frame models or bike models within that brand. So it was super segmented, and that gave me access to about 2 million prospects from Queenstown. So I could A/B test very quickly by just posting on these groups. As in, I could post my friend's cracked carbon frame and say, "Has this happened to anyone else?" We are validating an idea at the moment. Would love feedback. And within days and hours, there were just hundreds and thousands of posts from all over the world, many and most from the US, admittedly being one of the biggest mountain bike markets on the planet, but pretty much across the board. That gave me a sense of the scale of the problem, and also just interrogating other customers' experiences. Had they had a similar experience to my friend, or had they had a better one or worse one? And in some cases, the cracked frames or the damaged frames had actually been honored in a warranty context,
Right.
but only as a gesture of goodwill, right?
Yeah.
But when I started interrogating the legal policy wording of warranties and getting that sanity checked by a lawyer who specializes in that area of law, my lawyer came back and basically cemented exactly what I thought, that it just all the brands had a very similar variation of wording, policy wording, which is if you get a piece of debris or rock trapped in that lower linkage, the legal wording is essentially that the bike brand can't control what debris is going to go into your bike when you're out riding. Therefore, it is deemed simply as wear and tear. And therefore, really what I was looking at creating was an insurance policy that eliminated this from happening. And that was a kind of a powerful starting point for part of the validation. Yeah.
That's cool. And so you've gone from, idea, well, not even idea, actually knowing that you're going to go and design something and you're going to solve some problems and you're going to you're going to go for it. Then finding a problem for a friend, having a think about it, doing some validation, validating that there's other people that have this issue, and then starting to actually build the process of making an engine that actually kind of has orders come in and widgets come out ultimately.
Pretty much.
How long?
Yeah. Yeah.
How long did that take, and what were the steps you took, and how did you delegate that or do it yourself?
Yeah, there's lots of aspects to this, but I'll just go to the main one too. So of course there was my forte is in innovation, design, commercializing intellectual property. So that was kind of delegated to me naturally.
Yeah.
Anything to do with R&D, with to do with mountain biking, with to do with working with riders, working with pro riders, trying to find people to test product, so forth. Being in the mountain bike capital of Down Under, Queenstown, it was just a perfect fit for that particular ride. And I was in the right place at the right time. The other aspects that I had to really consider operationally was quite a few, but the first one is probably manufacturing, where we're going to get this manufactured, how we're going to find a manufacturing partner. Before that, even what budget do we have available? What resources do we have available? I was very deliberate on wanting to bootstrap this myself. I had been in the equity venture capital context earlier in my career with a design agency that I ran in Wellington many years ago. And we grew that quite quickly with a number of staff. And I learned really quickly when I was much younger that having staff and running that type of model with venture capital and funding was just not my character. It just didn't agree with me. My highest values are autonomy and freedom. And so having someone telling you that you've got to do all this reporting and all this compliance and making sure that they get their ROI as quickly as possible was just out of the question. So when I came into this, all those considerations very much informed how I had to approach things like manufacturing, setting up an e-commerce platform, setting up distribution, working out shipping logistics. That was probably the one piece in the puzzle that I had no experience in. So 80% of my skills are probably 85% were transferable, and that 15% was mainly new things such as how do you ship? How do you get goods, product to various parts of the world efficiently, compliant, meeting all tax obligations and so forth. So there was a lot of pieces in the puzzle. I was doing all of it myself. But I'd been used to doing this on my own in the service-based design for many years as well. So being self-employed wasn't a new context for me.
Yeah.
Even though I had worked for others, I was very much a sort of a specialist, lone wolf brand specialist in my later part of my branding career. So all of that was sort of taken care of. Didn't have to think too much because I had already been in that for many years, self-employed. But the things that I had to learn fast was the shipping, logistics, manufacturing, injection molding. Luckily, I had an older brother who's an industrial designer with 30 years experience. So he was great to draw upon. My father's an engineer, so I could jump in even with some family support of just trying to understand how to approach creating tooling, costs, ins and outs of injection molding, all those things that I'd really hadn't I had been involved in inadvertently in the past, working on other customers, other clients' product innovations, but I hadn't ever paid for that out of my own wallet, out of my own resource base. So that was tough. That was really tough. When you're suddenly looking at a tooling cost of say 80,000 US to get going, it's amazing cash flow that you're literally with no guarantees even of you can't make a sort of a MVP product that's not in its finished form or in the right materials and so forth. So that was probably the biggest risk I had to take was setting up
Right.
manufacturing, committing to tooling. It's
Yeah.
huge. And so we did take it was solid 2 years from the birth or from the time that my friend reached out with his broken bike. I launching into market was exactly 2 years. So March 20, March the 20th, 2020 was when I started, and then we launched the first product from our Shopify online store on 2 years later. Yeah, 2022.
Wow. That's interesting. And how did you launch it? Did you do anything interesting to launch, or did you just start kind of running ads or doing something like that? I don't know.
Yeah, this is a kind of a quite ironic and quite funny story because by the time we got to that start line, lots of entrepreneurs and ideas people think that once they've actually got a physical,
Yeah.
widget to sell, that the hard work is done. But because the start line is just the start, that's why it's called the start.
Yeah.
And yet you've just about blown everything you own and all the resources by that time. So when we got to launch date, we had pretty much no budget available at all for even any ads, nothing. However,
Right.
being resourceful and being a bit of a lateral thinker, and I just thought, how do we overcome this? Classic Kiwi number 8 fencing wire solution. So when we started, we literally just created was like global worst practice. We created Facebook aliases and spammed every Facebook mountain bike group in the world.
Right.
And our first customer was out of the US, and we received our first order in the first 15 minutes of launching our online store from one post.
Okay, and that was from one person, right?
Yeah, from one
An
person.
individual.
Yeah,
Yeah.
individual.
Nice.
So yeah, just to clarify, so we deliberately started and launched as direct to consumer D2C only, only panel. And it was kind of necessary as well, because wholesale and distribution, really no one wants to talk to you until you've got massive commercial validation behind your sales and proof of concept. So we had no proof of concept, we had no validation. We had a physical product, and the jury was out whether that was even going to have any success. So at that point, it was direct to consumer, spam all the Facebook groups, and cross our fingers that we would get traction. Cut a long story short, um, it was, of course, quite a problematic strategy in the sense that we ended up with an enormous amount of trolling, online trolling, of course. Ironically, it's sort of kind of a funny experience in hindsight, but not very funny at the time. It was like, so you always have your online trolling communities and anything in the world. Everyone has a keyboard warrior hiding behind a screen, which is just a given. But in this
Yeah.
case, what actually happened was the seesaw sort of tipped from really gnarly trolling. And of course, we were spamming the group, so we deserved quite a lot of trolling. Um, n- so we were ready to take a bit of a beating. However, in the beginning, the seesaw was very much weighted in the trolls' favor, because they could just slam us willy nilly with whatever. What happened over time was, as more and more prospects visited our online store, they suddenly realized, oh, these guys are actually resolving a genuine rider headache, a nightmare, really. And once that education piece was understood by a critical mass, i.e., there's no warranty if this happens. Bikes are expensive and they're just going up in price every year. It became quite clear once the education piece came across that this is a no-brainer. The product sells itself.
Wrong.
It's an essential piece of kit to eliminate this insurance policy, preventing catastrophic failure in a worst case scenario. So the trolling seesaw changed from, who are these guys? We had all sorts of people claiming that we were some Chinese scam site. uh, of course, with my name being Scandinavian and being based in New Zealand, having nothing to do with China, was of course very humorous, like random and humorous at the time. But over time, that seesaw tipped very much, and then once we got to sort of equilibrium, um, it really started snowballing in a good way. So after I think 9 months of spamming Facebook groups, we had by then sold out 3 times all our stock worldwide, and um, we had also managed to sell into customers in 80 countries,
Yeah, right.
which was entered, and we were just I was gobsmacked at the time. We were just like, wow, we've reached customers in 80 countries in 9 months from nothing.
And you sold out 3 times in that time. What order sizes were you going and doing?
Pretty small in the beginning. Yeah, so we were only doing about between 1 and 3,000 pieces as a reorder. Yeah,
Yeah, okay. Still a lot though.
but to get 3,000 pieces into the customers in 80 countries was about the quantity of the pieces. It was the reach. That was what was exciting. It's like, wow, we had, you know, this, even recently we're selling to customers in Ukraine, in the middle of war. on the middle of war,
Yeah.
and we're selling into Israel, middle of war. We're trying to ship to Russia. We've got massive following in Russia. Can't ship to them at the moment. They're gutted.
Right.
We want to be able to reach them, but we can't. So we realized we were igniting something in riders, and we're not quite sure how much of that has to do with the product proposition and what it solves. It's probably quite a big part. But I'd also say there's some residual equity in the story of having an R&D global HQ in Queenstown, New Zealand.
Yeah, that's cool. And I guess that's a great question to ask next, which is what is next? Like what do you think about this journey now? Like are you like do you have in your mind a vision of I have three more products in me, or you know what I mean? Like when you started the company, did you envision it as one product, or is it, because you kind of refer to the company as an R&D design company,
Mm.
which implies that you're more about the process of doing the design and solving the problem than actually the products you sell.
Yeah, I think the products we sell, uh the reason why we're linked, I guess, is that we're working in an industry that we're super passionate about. That's really the glue that holds us in this particular context of extreme sports and bikes. The vision. So the question around do I have more products in me? Absolutely. There's no shortage of products in me that they come out every day, all day for just by very organically. However, the challenge is always how do you fund them? How do you develop them? What's the time frames? What's the relevance? So we've got another one coming out actually around February, March 26th, early next year. And that's resolving another rider headache. It is also another world first. It's never been done yet. We own and have secured the intellectual property for that already. And the size of the market for this next product is about 20 times the size of the dirt skirt, the lower linkage frame protection.
Wow.
It's huge. And so I'm really personally excited about taking, replicating, and refining all these processes through R&D, prototyping, manufacturing, marketing, distribution, getting all that in place, and then applying it and rolling out something that's even bigger in terms of the potential.
Yeah.
And the vision at the moment for, say, the next 5 years is really to roll out probably one product a year.
Right.
One of the
With the expectation that each product then has a life cycle of getting product market fit,
correct,
um, as well, basically.
yeah, very much.
And now that you've gone through that whole journey of like doing the first product, going through the full life cycle, going through the whole phase of guerrilla marketing, essentially, are you now through that phase? And like, what does post guerrilla marketing look like? I guess for the first product, and is that now on autopilot?
Mm. There is a certain autopilot ingredient to it. The sort of the irony, and I think it's probably to do with my bias and self interest, and that is my passions are in innovation, design, mountain biking, living in the mountains, unashamedly like a lifestyle entrepreneur. Um, Parts of the business are following what I call global best practice, and parts of it are still following global worst practice. So our global worst practice is sort of one of the aspects that's quite ironic is that we still haven't spent a single cent on paid advertising after 5 years.
Wow, that's awesome.
And we're not doing that sort of overtly or super deliberately. It's just that we find that the resources available are better spent going into new product innovation, into R&D, and into other aspects of the business right now. And if we push that marketing machine, paid advertising, and get that cranking, we know we'll get amazing results. But what comes with that is also potential growth problems, challenges, right, for any founder. So the way that we've addressed the current kind of ecosystem in terms of iterative design and just keeping the product SKUs really small and tight, and essentially we've got a single SKU product at the moment in 80 countries, is that we want to get stuff right first time and not cut corners on R&D. And we see that as more important at the moment as a focus than generic marketing, full stop. As a sort of an example, a good example of this is we take like Specialized, one of the biggest bike brands in the world, right? Multi-billion-dollar American business. They have developed, or essentially taken our dirt skirt product, created their own version, which they are in their own right to do for their own new 2026 and 25 model bikes, right? However,
Yeah.
the version or the R&D that's gone into the equivalent product on their bikes, new bike models, has not been given the care or the R&D focus, the concentration on it. And so we can see already that their version is just ripping off their bikes. It's failing because it's just not been considered. They've got bigger fish to fry. They've got other things to try to solve that are more important, right? So
Right.
that customer base, we've just tapped into it. They're upgrading to our dirt skirt product, removing the one that comes from factory from a multi-billion-dollar bike brand, which we just find really interesting. So we're carving out quite a position of value in the sense of quality, in terms of like getting R&D really well resolved. We see quite often when we speak to our manufacturers up in Shenzhen, they talk a lot about other customers that come to them with a very much a sort of Kickstarter type startups where they're just rushing through. You've got venture capital, they've gun to the head pressure, and they're cutting corners and they're launching whatever it is, the latest new drone technology or something. And then the product starts failing. You know, the metal part that they had engineered and spent too short a time testing is failing. The little blade that was injection molded with a slightly cheaper vendor to get the price point down is failing. Then you suddenly end up with a global warranty recall problem, and many of those businesses just fold. They're just overnight, literally. They're just through warranty claims from the customer base. So we've learned a lot from multiple spheres in our business, especially from the manufacturing partners, how important it is to just not cut corners. So that's where our focus and resources are going at the moment. Predominantly is R&D, manufacturing, just getting the product absolutely watertight and just bomb-proof. Yeah.
And what does the makeup of the team look like?
It's a great question. The team's in Queenstown. There's myself, and we have a digital marketing contractor and a engineer, a product engineer, who is essentially just dealing with most of our manufacturing challenges in terms of like everything to do with tooling and quality control and testing and the materials and engineering of the actual product. And then we've also got a industrial design partner down here, local industrial design company that we engage. And then I take care of all brand R&D, design, spamming Facebook groups, whatever
So you guys still just take the same strategy and that works for you, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, we've dialed it really back down a lot. We see that we have more success when we just dial back 80% of our posts. So once in a blue moon, we just drop in, hey, here's a way to solve this problem, or here's
Right.
our dirt skirt fitted on your bike brand, and just showing a beautiful shop photo with a caption, just saying, hey, here's a solution to this. And that's just creates an organic, ongoing in the background. We get, ticking sales every day from all over the world. So that's what we've kept doing. We won't do that forever. It's probably not right for the brand in the terms of potential damage, but it
Yeah, I mean, I think it's yeah, I mean, look, it's a way to do it. I think it's important to kind of, I guess, recognize where it's kind of working, you know? Uh, mm, I don't think you should feel bad about it, you know? I think it's just really interesting because, a lot of people think the only way they can do it is if they do Facebook ads and they spend a lot of time focusing on Facebook ads where, same as you said before, they might be spending too much time focusing on the ads, but actually the product's not quite ready yet, or the way you communicate the product is not ready yet. I mean, there are just so many issues in business where, the product overall offering and product might be perfect for the market, but there's a part of the chain that's broken, and firing more Facebook leads at it that you're renting is going to be potentially costly. So I guess to land things, what are your thoughts around, like you talked about corner cutting and trying to jump and be launched quickly, which is the kind of playbook for entrepreneurism nowadays, which is move fast and break things, which is kind of a technology and Silicon Valley
Hmm.
kind of saying that's taken, I would say, entrepreneurship to kind of what it is today. And I think that like platforms like TikTok and Instagram have also kind of taken a similar approach to content creation around, click and go and do content fast and organic. And that's had a lot of success too, right? So, I guess how do you stay resolute in your plans and your quality control when you know that you have an impending time concern because you're investing, you haven't seen the ROI yet, so things are uncertain.
yeah, it's a great question. So I think the first part of that, if you look at the playbook, the Silicon Valley playbook, right? What I see in that, and I've observed this probably for more than 20 years so far in my journey, is most of the ideas I have seen or come across or been a part of or observed or read about, they are not world firsts. They are commodity ideas that are packaged up as trying to have novelty. And so I'm pretty sort of like judgmental on when it comes to interrogating new ideas. The filters I put through how we approach innovation is probably very different to
Mm.
the global playbook. And essentially, what I would answer to that is that we spend a lot of time focused mainly on how do we create, invent a category, the category that doesn't even exist, right?
Mm.
And why that's important is that gives us time because we're not competing with any direct competitors anywhere on
Yeah.
earth, right? So I deliberately can only apply this particular approach if you've got 100% novelty. And most things that I come across in my day to day or over the last couple of decades are variations of commoditized thinking that's already either out there or one brand executes it
Mm.
better than another. Apple, Samsung, whatever,
Right.
the big duopolies that fighting it out. So I think the answer or the advice I would give to others in this regard is like, if you can find a way to engineer true novelty, you don't need to actually take part in the normal conventional playbook at all. You create your own. You've got a different set of rules. It gives you more time and gives you more space to actually get things like the R&D manufacturing totally dialed. Yes, you've still got others that can come along and steal market share down the track, copy you, copycats all over. That's just engineered into our day to day. We're not really concerned about the AliExpress version or the Temu version of our firstly, also because our customer base is often spending up to $20,000 on a bike. They're not then going to slap on a Temu. It's just like a
Right.
yeah. It's so all those are very 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 much been considered up front. There's nothing really incidental in where we're at. Very calculated around how we consider every aspect, even things like shipping. Right. So if you take a commodity idea, like if I was trying to create a new bike pedal, right? Pedals have existed since beginning of time, and we invented some new pedal that had some new innovation in it, right? Uh, and then we get to a stage where we can't offer Amazon overnight shipping because we're shipping from Shenzhen. So we're shipping direct to consumer at the moment from Shenzhen to customers in 80 countries worldwide, right? So what that customer experiences is slow shipping. It's really annoying, right? It's a really annoying customer journey when it comes to our business at the moment. They have we have slow shipping on offer, and it's more expensive than Amazon. Certainly not free. However, because we've got novelty, the customer can't get it from anywhere else on earth. So
Mm.
that's what we're trading on, and that's what I would encourage other kind of New Zealand business entrepreneurs that are considering developing a product, a physical product in particular, that you've got to think about. If you're developing a pedal and then shipping it from Shenzhen and you've already got 20 pedal brands in the US that are shipping in 1 hour, you're never going to even make it to lunchtime. You're not even going to be able to launch. You're going to fail before you started. So that's why, in particular, when you are located at the bottom of the planet in a place like New Zealand, that novelty aspect, I can't, it's just
Right.
huge. Like,
Interesting.
in order to play the game or to have the ability to even start playing the game, that's just my view.
Yeah. I like the idea. Yeah, I really like the idea of if you can find a way to play a game where you're the only person that's playing the game the way you're playing it, it gives you an opportunity to tell your own story and maybe move at your own pace. And I think in the commercial world, I think that there's often a temptation to move at the same pace as everyone else.
Yes.
Mm. Or just to be the fastest.
Yeah.
And that's a temptation that we all face.
Yeah.
I think that your focus on quality and making sure that you have a long-term view around something that a lot of people would say, oh, well, it's solving a very narrow problem. Why are you thinking about it so much? Or why are you thinking about the quality so much? Maybe you can do 18 of those.
Yeah.
And I think that that's going to show endurance of the problem. And like you say, it's not like the customers are then spending a small amount of money to get the product that then you're defending. So I think that's a great way to end and a good takeaway, because I agree. Like, the more you can play your own game, the easier it is to and have something that is truly one of one or 0 to 1, as Peter Thiel calls it, in a, I guess, very Silicon Valley-esque book. But
Yeah.
yeah, cool, awesome. Well, I look forward to what the next product is, and I can't wait to see what you come up with next. And it's been great getting your thoughts. So thank you so much.
No, thank you, Charlie. It's been an absolute honor to be on the podcast with you, and hopefully I can share some type of nuggets and wisdom for others that are perhaps embarking on somewhat similar product innovation business. Yeah. Yeah.
Just keep going. Yeah. Awesome, man. Thank you.
Right. No worries.